problem.
Men.
Men leave.
Are men trash?
Man or a bear?
It's because a man done did something to her.
The bear's not gonna.
So men have been.
Men are the most horrible creatures.
Men are the problem.
Men.
Men leave.
Are men trash?
So men
Man
have.
or a bear?
It's because a man done did something to her.
The bear's not gonna.
So men have been.
Men are the most horrible creatures.
Men are the problem.
Men.
Men leave.
Are men trash?
Man or a bear?
It's because a man done did something to her.
The bear's not gonna.
So men have been.
Men are the most horrible creatures.
Men are the problem.
Men.
Men leave.
Are men trash?
Man or a bear?
What's up, everyone? What's up, brothers? How's everyone doing? So, hope you guys all had a good holiday. Hope you guys checked out my holiday special, I guess you could call it. So some announcements. I won't have a stream on Monday. I will have it on Tuesday because I want to do I probably won't have a stream on Wednesday. I don't know. Most likely not on Wednesday. But I want to have a New Year's Eve stream on Tuesday. It will go, past 1 o'clock. I mean, past 2 o'clock, 12 o'clock. So, just like I did with the Christmas stream, I want to do one for the New Year's Eve stream, so we can celebrate or celebrate New Year's together. Be together on New Year's. If you guys aren't doing anything, okay? For me, I ain't doing nothing. I don't really have any. I don't really have friends to hang out with. I don't have. I don't have a single friend. The friend that I do have, they have families. So, So, what the hell? If you guys aren't doing nothing, I ain't doing nothing. So, I want to do a stream on Tuesday. The stream will go, past New Year, so we can celebrate New Year's together. So, if you're not doing nothing on Tuesday night, I will be having a stream that night. I won't be having a stream on Monday. Most likely won't have a stream on Wednesday. So, yeah. Yo! What's up, Michael? What's up? Thank you for stopping by, bro. So, if you guys don't have plans, we can, join the stream. So, if you guys don't have plans, like I said, join the stream. So, tonight, there is this, this is a long podcast. It's a 3-hour podcast, but it's an interesting topic. So I wanted to watch it together with you guys. So hopefully you will like it, and hopefully it's a good it's a good podcast, good episode to react to. So let's check it out. It's like the podcast is called "We're All Insane." Hopefully it's a good one. Let's check it out.
Brooke. I'm 26 years old and I'm from California, and I'm here to tell the story of when my mom had an affair with my boyfriend. So I just want to start by saying that I love what you do. I think it's an awesome thing, and my journey and everything. And they, every family has issues. They've had their fair share of issues, but very different than what my mom experienced. So my dad came from a very big family, a close family. He had siblings, and there was just, a lot of involvement, and both parents, involved and all of that. So my mom, she was born in the Czech Republic. She was the only child, and her parents divorced when she was really young. And I think this plays a huge part in why she became the way she is, and, later on affected me and everybody else in life with the decisions that she's made. But she and her father moved to the United States when she was 8, I think, and that was the last time that she really ever saw her mom. They got divorced. I think it was just because she cheated on her dad, and nothing too crazy, but I think her dad was like, you are not going to have, a relationship with your mom. She's not a good person. And so he took her away basically. And
I gotta say, generational curses are a thing. Generational curses are a thing. Plus here's well, let's keep listening a little bit more.
Moved to the United States. He was a professor, so he was always busy. He was always working, and he's very smart, but he's not very socially apt, I guess you would say. And so my mom would.
So I want to just show that a little bit because I watched a small tidbit. This is a thing where people have to understand. Let's say in that her, I guess, grandfather's case, where the grandmother cheated on him, so he took the daughter, left for the States. Here's the thing where he failed because he didn't take steps to teach his daughter better, raise her better. And that is why her daughter will repeat generational curse.
Was practically on her own a lot. She pretty much raised herself. She didn't have, you know, a mother figure in her life, a strong female figure, you know, guiding her as she was going into her teenage years and all of the really important things that you need a mom around for.
Yeah.
So, you know, she was always out running around, going to parties, going to sports camps, just doing things on her own. And she was an excellent runner and a swimmer. And so she ended up getting a scholarship.
Controversial opinion. A person, mom or father, it's good to shape you, right? So a household will benefit if they have a mom and a dad. But the controversial opinion is that, honestly, the main role for a mother is nurturing. It's nurturing. Honestly, fathers raise better, productive adults. Single fathers do better raising productive adults than single mothers. Now, this is why I said what I just said before, where her father failed in raising a morally sound daughter. Because again, like she was saying, the father was barely there. He was smart, but he wasn't socially apt. So, you know, he didn't really think about morality, shaping the viewpoints of his daughter better.
To go run track at Arizona State University, and that's where she met my dad. And my dad played football there, so both my parents were student athletes, and they met. And my dad is a very nice person. Like, he's what you would call like a nice guy, the typical, you know, will do anything for you.
The woman married a nice guy. This will show you why nice guys finish last.
Huge heart. And I'll talk about this later on too, but my dad is like the best. He's made a huge impact on me, and he's just a great person. He has a great heart. And him and my mom, you know, hit it off, started dating, and my mom became like instantly attached to him. And they ended up both dropping out of Arizona State to move back to where my dad was from in Fresno, because I think, he's open about it, but I think my dad flunked out because, you know, partying, Arizona State, all that stuff, nothing out of the ordinary.
Yeah.
But she followed him when he left and went back to Fresno, and they ended up getting married there and kind of starting their life and everything. And then eventually moved up to Oregon, and that's where they had me and my siblings. So I was raised in Oregon. And I wouldn't say that I had like an abnormal childhood at all. There was nothing that indicated like we weren't raised well. We were very well taken care of. You know, both my parents worked, so it wasn't like we had a parent at home with us a lot. You know, when we were younger, my mom was home, but my dad, he's a police officer, so he was always, you know, working, and my mom was the one that was taking care of us when she was home. She's a teacher, so she would work kind of, you know, school hours and then be with us at home like before and after school. And I think it's hard because I don't have a lot of memory from childhood, and I think that's fairly common, but a lot of what I've been through, I feel like I've kind of blacked out.
Mm-hmm.
And then as I've gotten older and learned more about things that happened in my childhood and with my mom, it all kind of makes sense now. And so even if I don't remember details, I remember, you know, the feelings and the impact afterwards. So there was nothing that I can remember being out of the ordinary. I was a very, you know, active kid. All three of us were always running around playing with the neighborhood kids, doing stupid stuff in the backyard and pushing each other down the hill on a skateboard, just stuff like that. And I always had a lot of energy and creativity. You know, if you talk to like my sister and my brother, they can both say that my mom was like all about me. Like she would always be invested in Brooke's sports over the other two kids. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that she didn't have her mom there and her dad there when she was an athlete. And so she finally got, that chance to be on the other side and be what she didn't have. But it wasn't approached in a healthy way. As I got older, I ended up getting into running, which is what she was really good at. I mean, and she was an incredible runner. Like, she ended up going on to run road races and marathons after college. She was like, I want to say not too far off, didn't go out and go to parties or hang out with friends and do stupid stuff like most teenagers do. I was very committed to my sport, and she really instilled in me like the importance of being super dedicated and doing all the little things, which I'm very grateful for because it made me the athlete that I became. But I don't think I should have been exposed to the seriousness at such a young age, because the effects that it had were very lasting. I mean, to this day, it started to become very unhealthy when she started to really pay attention to like my body. And this is where it kind of begins with the molding of me, if I would call it that.
And she was never like that with your siblings?
No, and and I'll get into that too. So my mom was very close with me because of my sports, and I was her first daughter. I also just totally forgot to mention this, but it's really ironic that I was born on my mom's birthday and my parents' wedding anniversary. So like double whammy. I've never had a day to myself.
Right.
But so my mom's always had a like significant attachment to me, and it wasn't like she neglected my siblings, but she definitely, it was very obvious. Even family friends, would recognize that I was like a mini me to my mom. And she would dress me, she would make me like this cute little athletic girl, and that was who I was going to be. So at a very early age, like that became my identity. And I didn't really fight it because, I was really close with my mom. My mom was like my best friend. She was doing all this stuff for me to be happy and be successful. And as I started to become a better athlete, I fed into what she was telling me, was going to be good for me. And so even before I got into high school, she started really drilling into my head, nutrition, and you got to watch out if you're going to eat this, like, make sure that, unhealthy for you. And I became very strict with my diet, and I'm like 13,
right.
Like I'm still a kid. I haven't even hit puberty at this point, because one thing that some people don't understand, especially about female athletes, is that when you're very active at a young age, it can really.
Well, we're jumping ahead. The freak. Thank you for stopping by. No, but the husband still sticks with her. I know a little bit about the story, so I just want to hear the whole details. The husband is still there. We have a lot to talk about. We definitely will have a lot to talk about.
Really stunt your, development, and especially, getting your period and stuff like that. I didn't hit any of that.
So this is the thing where I just recently, I have a daughter. She's 12. I just recently talked to my daughter about this. She come to me and saying that, oh my God, there's these kids that are acting all grown, like there are kids that are making out. There are kids that are talking about lesbian relationship, all this shit. And I told her that this is a thing where I don't want her to grow up too quickly. Because I think is a detriment. We have so many kids mindset. They're growing too quickly. They are developing way too fast. And honestly, they're not enjoying their childhood. They're not enjoying their time to be a kid. Stress-free. Don't stress. I told her, don't stress about these things. Don't think about boys. Don't. Because honestly, once you hit that mark, once you hit that line, there's no going back. There's no going back to, oh, when I was a kid, carefree, not caring about nothing, imagination, toys, just playing. You ain't gonna go back to that. You can't go back to that. The mindset is very important. And I think way too many parents are yes, peer pressures. So many parents, so many other kids are being destroyed mentally, mindset. So I told my daughter, just have fun, read your mangas, play with your toys, watch cartoons, just live a carefree life until as much as you can. And I think a lot of parents are really messing up their kids. Yo, Renegade, thank you for stopping by, bro. We have a long podcast. This is like a 3-hour podcast. I will try to speed things up or skip needless chatter. But I think it's going to be interesting story.
I had like zero body fat. I was younger looking than I actually was. She really supported me in that. But as I got better, it became even more of an issue if I didn't, I guess, follow what my mom had planned for me. So I really struggled with like just being a teenager and doing like normal stuff.
And I think it's a detriment for parents that live through their children. They want to mold the children into a life that they wanted to have. That is a detriment. That is a sign of mental instability.
Dinner, and it wasn't like the healthiest meal or whatever, like pizza or mac and cheese. It was like, oh, like you're gonna have some more, like, ooh, and, you know, like just things like that. And I became so hyper focused on what I was eating to the point that I would like plan out my whole day's worth of food, and I would measure things, and I would literally like count, you know, if I had one more than the serving size, or I would like split the serving size so it was less. Like it would cause me this anxiety, and I would constantly be looking at myself in the mirror. I would be comparing myself to other girls that I would compete against, and that was always really hard because no life in my face. And I don't understand how I was able to honestly be as successful as I was with the way that I was under fueling. But it definitely played a role in, you know, really delayed development as a woman. I didn't even get my period until I was like going to my senior year of high school. And like to this day, the issues that I've had with my body image are always triggered when I am around my mom. And she's made comments in the past, which I'll get into later, but like when I was hurt in college and I wasn't running and I put on a little bit of weight, like nothing bad. I was actually healthy. I looked normal, you know, but she had made a comment that I'd gotten so big and that I needed to lose the weight and I was never going to come back from my injury if I was carrying this extra weight on me. And she's making it out to be that I'm like this unhealthy person, but in actuality, I was healthier than I've ever been. And then there was another instance where I had come home and I was like super skinny again because I was really going through it. And when I get stressed, I tend to like that. Like there was a lot of dysfunction growing up as far as the way that my parents interacted. And I never really saw what like a loving relationship looked like. And it's a lot different now, which I'll get into. But my parents, I think because of all of the things that my mom was growing up and what she's experienced, and she's never really addressed a lot of her trauma, it caused a lot of issues between her and my dad. And my dad is like the prime example of unconditionally loving somebody, but boy, was he like irritated by her. And I just remember like my mom and my dad fighting, and I would always like side with my mom and never really understood like what the fights were about. But as I got older and I got into high school, I noticed that my mom and my dad weren't like warm with each other. You know, it was just kind of like, okay, like they're together, like, but I never saw them, you know, like holding hands, kissing, like any of that stuff. And but that was just normal, you know, like that's just what I grew up with and what I saw. And so and the same thing too with like my mom, she's not a very warm and loving person. So there was never like a lot of like hugging and like emotional support and just things that like for me, who I am now, I am the complete opposite of, you know, I'm a very loving, emotional person. I love hugging people. I love just like being there and like really giving somebody my love. And I never saw that in the way that I feel like I think love should look like. So I ended up being like super just like, okay, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to not really worry about my parents' relationship. Being the oldest, you know, I had to like not take care of my siblings, but be the example, you know, and just kind of be the older sister that would.
You can already hear the insanity that this is a thing where you can see that women, even at a young age, are misandrous or manipulated. You don't even know the argument, yet you already on your mother's side. And we will get it, where her mother is a piece of asshole. I mean, is an asshole. So for you to be on your mother's side, I can see where, this is the thing, I see where you are already just ruled by your emotions instead of logic, okay? Also, this is a thing where you could see a man that's not in his masculinity. a man that does not have control of his relationship, that is being controlled in that relationship. He has no, this is a thing where honestly, I think a lot of men, especially the nice guys, they're not in control. And one thing is, it's one thing to not be in control in a relationship. It's another thing to be controlled in the relationship. You got, it's a difference between having equal power, a partnership, than the difference between, you know what, being absolutely powerless in a relationship. And as a man, to be absolutely powerless in your own relationship, in your family, it's like ridiculous. You are, and I guarantee you, that man is in a sexless marriage. Just from what she just what she just glancery said, yeah.
Lead when there needed to be a leader. And because I was so invested and so competitive in my sports and dedicated to what I was doing, I felt like I wasn't ever really there for my siblings in the way that I could have been. And like now we all have, you know, good relationships and I'm a lot closer to them, my sister especially, than I was when I was younger. But I was very separate from my siblings and I just like stayed very focused to myself. And if there were problems between my parents or if there was, you know, any other things going on, I would just kind of go into my little world and focus on what I needed to focus on and just like keep my eye on the prize. So I ignored a lot of things that were going on when I was in high school. And looking back, like I can see a lot of those things now that I understand where they came from, but I was pretty naive. Like I didn't know a whole lot about just like life and social things and all of that because I was so focused on being an athlete and excelling. And so I didn't really date much. Like I had one boyfriend when I was like 15, who was my first kiss that, you know, we all have and didn't really mean anything to me, but it wasn't like ever on my mind. And then I started hanging out a lot with my brother's friends because we would always be going to my brother's baseball tournaments. And a lot of the guys that he played with were in my year. He was a really good baseball player, so he'd play up. And so I would hang around him and his friends who were also my friends. I went to school with them. And my junior year, it was like the best year for me for running. Like I was getting recruited at that point by Division I programs. I was, you know, on track to being valedictorian. I had placed at this point in the state championship meet in both swimming and running, cross country and track. I had so much going for me. And like at that point, it was like, okay, well, anything else at this point is a bonus. Like I saw the finish line at that point. Like this was where things were like at a peak for me. And so I was known around school like as the runner, you know, the runner girl. And I wasn't like uber popular, but I was popular, you know, being an athlete and being successful. And I had a lot of friends, nobody that I was like super, super close with. I had like a couple of close friends, but I was just kind of, you know, well-liked. I was pretty shy. I wasn't as nearly as outgoing as I am now, but, you know, I was always, you know, liked and just like wanted to, you know, make people happy and just be like good, you know, like didn't get in trouble, didn't do anything stupid, like just very good, very solid. And there was a guy on my brother's baseball team who was in my year, who I ended up dating and is a part of the story. I'll call him M. So I'm not going to say his name, but I'll call him M. And so M was my brother's teammate, and he wasn't like extremely close to him, but you know, they were friends. And I knew him in school, but I didn't like know him really personally. He was, you know, typical jock guy, played sports, not like a bad kid, but you know, like other jocks would kind of get into trouble every now and then, kind of a.
This is a thing where I have a, I guess an opinion where even as a kid or, you know, a teen, I even knew that athletes are not known to be faithful. Now, I'm not saying that it's all athletes. I'm not saying that. I'm saying that athletes are generally men, or let's say in this case, boys with options. Girls love the athletes. So even as teens, these are teens that have options. So whether you're an adult or a teen, when you have so much options, it is not likely for you to be faithful. It is a common, I don't know, maybe I'm alone in this, but I felt it was a common thing when I was young to know that when you date an athlete, it's highly unlikely, like, 70, 80% unlikely that they will be faithful to you.
Jokester and just like, that guy that I think every high school has. And so he was also pretty popular. And, at the time, like, I was like, he's so cute. And like, I didn't think very highly of myself either. I hadn't even like started wearing makeup at this point because, again, like going back, my mom didn't have
Yo, thank you for stopping by, bro. Thank you.
a mother to raise her and teach her about, what it is to be a girl, like how to put on makeup, how to do your hair, like all that different stuff. And so my sister and I both like pretty much taught ourselves growing up, like how to do those things. And because I was so invested in like my sports, I didn't really care about that a whole lot. And so as I got older, I learned from my younger sister, like how to do my hair and my makeup and even put a tampon in. Like, I know that's kind of gross to say, but like the reality is that my mom didn't even like, I never really like truly dated somebody before. And so it was my first ever experience of the process, the butterflies in the beginning, the excitement of somebody texting you and it's somebody that you like and all that stuff. So I was like literally ecstatic. I'm like, okay, I have had a crush on this guy and he's talking to me now and I'm like already pretty close with him because he plays baseball with my brother. Like this is a perfect situation, like boyfriend. My mom was like immediately very attached to us and she would be very supportive of me like wanting to go do things with him and hang out and stuff like that, and sometimes would even like offer to come along and take us. And so there were like a handful of situations where it was me and Em and then my mom, and I again didn't think anything of it. Like in my head I just thought, oh my gosh, this is so great, my mom and my boyfriend are getting along and like what could go wrong. And I at this time, like he would never spend the night at our house, but like he would always be at our house until like it was time to go to bed.
I'm sorry. I think it's a red flag for any parent to be so invested in the sense that they're so supportive, or I don't know why I say supportive, but it's just so happy that your child is in a relationship. I see it as like, man, I'm gonna be I'll be a bit depressed, but very weary, cautious, worried if my daughter start liking boys. So for the mom to be so giddy or like wanting to push a relationship, foster a relationship with her and her boyfriend, I think that's a red flag.
Like he was always with me or I was always with him. And so the amount of time that he spent around my family and around my mom was significant enough for me to not like worry about anything that would have stood out as concerning, because it just felt so normal. Like it felt just right. Yeah, that's just how it was. And so as this relationship went on, I say this now because like I can look back and see this stuff, but at the time I didn't notice. My mom became very close to me in a way that didn't make sense. So she started buying clothes that were similar to mine, like literally matching outfits. She was buying this like skincare cream type of stuff that would make her skin look youthful. And, she's in her late 40s at this point. She's getting to that point, as a woman that, you feel like you're starting to lose yourself and you want to feel and look young again. And I think my mom definitely had a lot of insecurities and to this day still has a lot of insecurities. And so she really poured into her image at this time. She was trying to make herself look younger. She was highlighting her hair so it was bright blonde like mine, and just like acting and kind of putting herself out there as looking younger than she actually was. And my mom like was, very beautiful. And a lot of people would tell me like, your mom is so pretty. You guys look so much alike. And I would always feel like, like that was a huge compliment. And again, like wanted to be like my mom, so I didn't think anything of it. That's the moral of the story. Didn't think anything of it. And
Now, we're not necessarily hearing this from the father's point of view, okay? But I would say this. You're in a marriage where this is a thing where I'm going to go about this story from a man's point of view if I was maybe in the position of the husband. If your wife looks a certain way, I'm not saying that she looks ugly or anything, but she's like, she dressed a certain way for years, doesn't really wear makeup for years, doesn't really care about her looks for years. And then all of a sudden, she hyper focused on her looks. It's like, there's red flags. That's a sign of cheating. That's a sign of cheating. If a woman is now married to you, she's married to you, she has not been, are we still looking for another topic? Mickey Mays, the pro gambler? Pro gambler? Yo, Anthony, thank you for stopping by. Well, I'm checking out this this podcast tonight with an interesting story. So I wanted to watch this tonight, but I mean, maybe I'll add that to the docket. So what I was gonna say is that this is the thing where a lot of husbands, a lot of men in relationships don't see these red flags, or they like to ignore it. I've heard it so many times, like when your wife, your partner's like very secretive with their phone. All these, there's so clear red flags, and I always think it's really ridiculous that a lot of men would turn a blind eye to these red flags.
Felt like as our relationship progressed, she started to really look for validation from M. So she would almost act while she was with us like she was one of us, like she was a peer. And this is a part of like the relationship that I had with my mom growing up that I'll touch on. She was never really emotionally a mother. She wanted to be my friend. She wanted to be at my level. She wanted to relate to me. And so when she would hang around us, it was like she was trying to like joke with us like she was one of us. It wasn't like a parent to kid interaction. It was like she was trying to be one of us. And
one of the biggest, one of the newest parenting, I guess, tactics is being friends with your kids is one of the most stupidest shit I've ever heard. I hate that whole I'm friends with my kids. That kind of dynamic is so stupid. Absolutely idiotic. Yeah, trying to be a child's friend is ridiculous. You're not their friend. You're not their friend. You are their parent. And like you can talk to them, right? Talk to them, understand them. Be close to them, but it's like friendship. That's the thing where you blur the lines, and how with this whole friendship stuff, when I hear a whole lot of parents doing, it's a parenting technique that I really do not like.
And I don't think there was ever a specific point in time where I felt like it was like super obvious that they were, starting to give me weird vibes. But I do remember when.
And yes, I hate that. When parents are trying to be cool, it's like you're trying to be your friend because you're trying to be cool. That's ridiculous. It's really ridiculous. Are you trying to be cool with your kids? That's not, no.
I was, like my senior year had started and I can't remember what was going on, but my mom needed M's number for something. She didn't have it at that point. And so I gave her his number and she's like, we're just trying to coordinate something for you. Like we're doing a surprise for you for one of your races or whatever. It was something like that. And so I didn't think anything of it, but that was probably like the worst thing I could have done was give her his number. So from here, I'm going to tell the story as if I didn't know any of this information. And then I'll go back and like insert like how we found out this information. But like from there on out, like beginning of my senior year of high school is when this affair started to begin.
Yes, there has to be an adult in the room. Absolute disgusting. When a parent is asking for a child's number, your boyfriend's number? Seriously? And it's like, imagine the husband is oblivious to this. Your wife is asking for a teenager's number. Absolutely disgusting. Yo, why? Thank you for stopping by. Guys, I want to preface again, if you guys didn't watch the beginning, I wanted to check out this podcast because the topic is pretty interesting, in my opinion. So, as you can see by the title, my mom's affair with my 18-year-old boyfriend. I think it's interesting. Also, I learned that the husband, even after going through the affair, still stayed with the mom. So that's why I really wanted to talk about this story that this woman has. I think it's interesting, and I think a lot of men are going through this. A lot of men going through this, where they are doormats. They're doormats. They don't have backbones. This is the thing where that's why I wanted to talk about this. It's a long podcast, but it's an interesting story. It's an interesting story. So, if you guys could really, get into it, I think it's a good story. So, but if you guys, sometimes don't like the whole one long big story, I understand it.
And I think it's crazy. Like, a lot of people don't actually know this, but we were not dating for really that long. Like, we'd known each other for a long time, but we had only been dating for like half a year, really, at that point. So it wasn't like I was with M for, all of high school or anything, but because he was my first boyfriend and my first real relationship, everything feels so much more, my first I love you and, pretty much like my first everything. And so at this point, it is our senior year of high school, and we are like one of the couples, because it's like not bad boy, but like bad boy M, the jock that's, kind of the one that messes around and stuff like that, with the shy, really successful runner girl, like kind of opposites,
Yeah.
but we were like perfect together, and I was just so in love. Like,
Even other people knew this kid was the bad boy, the typical jock. This is the thing I said it, I have a daughter, 12. I want to teach her different. I want to teach her differently. I want to wake her up to the world where she knows, okay, you want to date the jock? Okay, cool. I mean, date who you want, but don't be fooled. Okay? Don't say, oh my God, I didn't know he was going to cheat on me. Really? I told you in the beginning, the likelihood, the percentage of him cheating on you was high. Even though you are a teen, understand accountability. It's not like you didn't. This is the thing where I want to teach my daughter to understand accountability. Not like you didn't know it. You chose to go against it, which will be your right. You want to go against it? Okay. You want to date the jock when you are told not to date the jock? Or when you're told that, you know what, there's a high likelihood that this guy will break your heart, will cheat on you, will lie to you, whatever. And you chose to not listen to the advice. Cool, you don't have to. But remember, you chose not to listen to the advice. So, no one to blame. Not even the other guy. Not even the jock that would cheat on you. Not even that guy. Blame yourself. Because you chose to do it anyway.
Just felt like it was everything that I didn't even know I wanted, and we were like just attached to each other. And he was like my best friend at that time. Like, I had my girl best friends, but there was a lot of him that I like related to, and I could just be so comfortable around. And being that I didn't really have a whole lot of like self-esteem growing up, I never really thought highly of myself. I never.
Yo, anti-black. I got a daughter, and it's like, I'm so scared. It's just, this is a thing where it's just, you watch all these videos, and you know how women think. And it's like, you don't want to repeat these curses. You don't want to repeat the patterns that women typically, I'm not saying all women, but women typically, in general, make. So I definitely, one of the things I want to instill into her is accountability. You can choose however path you want. Understand, you chose it. Don't blame others for your own choice. That is one thing I want to instill into my daughter. Don't blame others for your choice. You want the bad boy? Cool. But you chose them. Don't blame him for being a bad boy when you chose him.
Both have very, very different approaches to like attending to other people's needs. So my dad is very selfless in the sense that he will make sure everybody is okay before he's okay. And my mom is very selfish. So she is always like looking out for her and what's going to benefit her. And I felt like during this time I did see that my parents' relationship was going downhill because they kind of neglected each other.
I think that's a very typical thing, in my opinion. I think men in general are selfless. It's just, this is the thing I have, this is a personal rule I have in dating, right? When and I've told a lot of exes this, I will give I will give 100% of myself until I can't give any more. What does that mean? I'm not holding myself back. I will love you. I will treat you with 100% of my love until I can't do it anymore. I.e., I'm not getting anything. I'm with someone who's selfless or who's selfish, who's not caring about me, who's not doing anything in her power to make me happy or feel good, while I am trying my best to make her happy. And I would do that to a point where, you know what? I'm done being selfless. There's a point where I can be selfless until it doesn't make sense anymore. Where I've done that. I've been in a relationship where it's like years of it. I'm selfless. I'm constantly giving, never receiving. While my partner's just taking. That's it. And I think a lot of men, I'm not saying all, but I think a lot of men are selfless. While sadly, I think a lot of women are selfish. And you see so many videos of me showing exactly that.
And my dad was starting to get very irritated with my mom. And I just remember like it was always really just, there was fighting and on edge. And even when Em would be there, it was like my dad didn't even want to be in the room sometimes. He'd be like irritated that she was like interacting with him and having, a bubbly conversation with him, but not my dad. So I think my dad started to kind of sense some things earlier on, and he's a cop, so he has that very strong intuition to know when things aren't right. But he never made any comments. He just kept it to himself. So there was a...
That's the thing where men will stay in sexless relationships. Men will stay in one-sided relationships because they don't want the failure of marriage, of a divorce. And they don't want their children to suffer from divorces. Plus, men in general will be labeled as they are the problem. They are the problem for the failure of the relationship. So men will suffer from it. Knowing full well that this woman who's giving you a sexist marriage, she will definitely give sex and attention to another man. And in this case, to a boy. Literally, you give it to a boy rather than your own man. Yeah. This is why I wanted to react to this, because how infuriating. You hear this story from this woman who's not even in the marriage. She's just seeing it from the outside. She's seeing how this man is such a doormat. He's a cop. A cop. He's such a doormat. He's so spineless. I'm surprised he's a cop. He's so spineless. And then to know that he would accept his wife back is insane. And you know what? That's, to be honest, I am more and more, I would love to preach the word of the passport bros more. Just to, not necessarily like for anything, oh, you have to get a wife outside the country, but to more say that to men that there are more women than just the women in the US. There are more women than just women in the US. So honestly, spread your horizon. Know that you're not stuck with just the women around you.
Point in time when, and again, like Em was my first for a lot of things. So when it got to the point to when I started to become intimate for the first time, I went to my mom because I didn't really have like this type of relationship with my girlfriends. And I also wasn't, I would say, socially at that level yet. So I kind of felt embarrassed that I was having to ask the questions of like, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And what does this mean? And all that stuff. So I went to my mom about it. And I have a very vivid memory standing in their bedroom. And I told her that Em and I are going to have oral sex for the first time. And I don't know what to do because, I didn't watch porn or anything. Like, it wasn't like I was sheltered, but it just was never a priority or an interest to me. again, like being so focused and competitive with sports and school and stuff like that, I just didn't think that way. One track mind. So this is all new to me and I didn't know what to do. And so I went to my mom and I'm like, how do you do this stuff? Like, what does this mean? And I also didn't think that it was weird at the time that I was asking my mom those questions because she was, you know, in my head, my best friend and the person that I was closest to. But looking back, I definitely don't think it's, in my opinion, appropriate, you know, to be talking to
Yeah, it's
your
like-
mom about those things.
It's like a fine line.
Appropriate? No, but here's the thing where well, we're going to hear what the mom will say.
Because part of me is like, I think it says a lot that you felt comfortable enough to go to her. Like, you know, if one day I was ever a mom, like I would want my kids to come to me about anything. But at the same time, I see what you're saying of like looking back. It's like, because then it's like,
Yeah.
you know, like,
yeah, it is a fine line. It's like,
right. It's like, I feel like it does say a lot that you felt comfortable enough to
Yeah.
go to her. Like that aspect of it, I think is good. But like, the
Right.
Sadly, for accepting a wife that had an affair with you, had an affair with a child, with a teenager, had an affair with your daughter's boyfriend, I'm sorry. He could be the most thuggish, the most muscular. He could be 6'6". He could be the most masculine of masculine man in this world. Him accepting that woman back, I'm sorry. He's a simp. He's a simp because he cares nothing about himself. And he's sacrificed. And I get it, right? Us men are selfless. So we do sacrifice ourselves. But like I said, there's a point. There's a breaking point. There's a line where, you know, you can give, but if you are constantly not receiving, yes, you have entered simp territory. You have really taken away this woman's accountability, the consequences of her actions. That's a simpish behavior. Taking away women's consequences, women's accountability, that's simpish in my opinion.
fact that it's like, oh, like I'm about to do this.
Yeah,
like, you know what I
like-
mean? It is a little bit more like, because I look back and like my mom and I were very close and there happened to be times that I would come out to her about things I did after the fact.
Yeah.
But I think if I told her, hey, mom, I'm about to do this,
Yeah.
she'd be like, no, the hell,
You're
you're
like,
not
you're
about
staying
to.
home.
Right, you
You
are
are
not
not
about to do that.
Yeah.
So I think
Yeah.
it would be, that's kind of where it gets a little bit.
Yeah. And again, like I didn't really think like that at
Yeah.
the time because I didn't understand that the relationship that I had with her was not at all a healthy mother-daughter
Mhm.
relationship. So she proceeds to describe to me what I should do. And I remember in this moment thinking, wow, that is so oddly specific.
Yeah.
Like it's almost like you had to have done that to know like what I should do. You know what I mean?
Literally teaching your daughter how to suck knob. This is a thing where, and this is the woman he married. Your wife is teaching your daughter how to suck knob. Instead of being an actual parent to actually tell, this is the thing I would tell my daughter. This is the thing you should not be doing. Because here's the thing where, honestly, once you step over that line, know that you can't step back. This is a boundary that you have to be so sure. Because here's the thing. A lot of men, this is the thing where us men have to be serious, have to be blunt with our daughters. A lot of men, a lot of boys don't care about you. They don't care about you. They only care about how to use you. So to be a proper parent, you have to teach your children once you cross into these adult acts, there's a high probability of you getting adult consequences.
Yeah.
But I didn't think about that. And
So she just gave you basically like a tutorial of what you should be doing. Okay.
Yeah, a tutorial. God. Oh boy, that's one way to get your sex
Yeah.
education.
Wow, okay.
So anyways, we are at this point in our relationship, Em and I am starting to learn the effects of, and I don't feel weird talking about this because it is a like very significant part to the story and the struggles that I've had afterwards, but the way that sex makes you feel and the way that sex makes you feel about yourself, it played a huge role in my self-esteem at that point in my life, because I felt like because that was happening, that meant that I was beautiful and that I was desired and that I was worthy. And I didn't really understand like how serious like sex is. I know that like it's a normal thing in life, but obviously there are like huge consequences that come with it. And it's, you know, an adult thing that I just didn't have, you know, much knowledge on. And so when I was at this point in my relationship with him, I felt like this is like what is going to like solidify us, you know, like I'm gonna get so good at making him feel good, and I love the way that he makes me feel. And it was suddenly like the most important thing to me. And I hadn't like lost my virginity at this point, but everything else at that point had happened. And so it was kind of building up to this, and he'd never pressured me, but would always, you know, be like, this is what I want. And it became very clear that this was like super important to him too. And so we would, you know, progress in our relationship with this stuff. And then at some point it just didn't become important to him anymore. Like it wasn't like, oh, like we're going to be planning on doing this. Like it wasn't talked about. It wasn't something that I like anticipated. And I never really thought about why, but obviously he was getting it from somewhere else. But see, I'm trying to think. So there are a lot of situations that I look back on now, and I know when like these things started to occur between them and when they were sleeping with each other. But I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell like the whole story to when we found out and then go backwards.
Okay.
That'll probably make more sense. So
Did she end up asking you, after you had asked her for advice, did she ever like come back and ask like, oh, did you end up doing anything with him?
she would ask like what we did,
Okay.
which again is very weird. And I didn't like ever really talk to her about details, but you know, I wouldn't feel uncomfortable telling my mom like, hey, this happened, you know, because she was curious and she was, you know, invested in our relationship. So it just felt like telling, you know, your girlfriend details. But anyways, so we're getting into like the holiday season at this point. At this point in our relationship, I have committed to run track and field at Oregon State University. And I get my wisdom teeth out and I'm like down bad for the whole week, you know? And so my mom and Em were both taking care of me. And it was like they were like tag teaming, taking care of me. And it just, everything always felt so good. Like, oh my gosh, my boyfriend and my mom are close and they're my two favorite people and they're taking care of me right now. I'm fine, you know? But they definitely used that time when I was down to capitalize on their relationship, which I'll get into. And this is about a week before Christmas. So we're off from school. It's Christmas break. I got my wisdom teeth out. I'm resting at home. And at this point in time, like my parents' relationship is pretty rocky, like fights every day. My mom and dad have very short temper with each other. My mom's being really suspicious, and it just, you can just feel things boiling at that point. Like something's gonna come up at some point. And I get a promise ring from Em for Christmas, and I'm like, you know, ecstatic. Like, this is so amazing. Like, this just means he loves me so much and we're gonna be together forever. And I'm so lucky that, you know, my first boyfriend is like my first love and all the things. And I say that because I just want to really emphasize how things like that can impact your trust in relationships moving forward, because of what I was about to find out. So it is December 28th, 2015. I will remember that date for my whole life. And I don't, like I said before, I struggle remembering a lot of stuff from my childhood. I struggle remembering stuff even from my young adult life, like college. But I will remember every single detail to this day because of how life-changing it was. And while this situation, like, single-handedly changed the course of my life forever, I look back on this, didn't check my phone leaving practice that night. But thank God I did not, because at that point things had been discovered and my phone was blown up. But I did not check my phone. I don't know how I didn't check my phone, because I mean, we always have our phones, but I mean, it's 2015, so people weren't as attached to them, I guess, back then. But like, I was so excited. The point is, I was so excited to go home and go on our date that I just didn't worry about it. Threw it in my bag and got in my car and drove home. So I get home and I noticed that my dad's truck is not in the driveway. My mom's home, my brother's home, my sister's at volleyball practice. So I get home and I'm in the garage and My brother opens the door. And my brother is a very unserious person, I would say. Like, he just jokes around. You know, growing up, he was always very silly and he would just say stupid shit. And it wasn't abnormal for my brother to say stuff that was like, what the fuck did you just say, kind of thing. So he comes outside and he's just staring at me. And I'm like, what? And he goes, Em had sex with mom. And I stood there and I was like, it didn't even hit me at that point. I was like, you're joking. And I looked at him and I'm like, don't say that. And he looked at me again and his expression didn't change. It was just stone cold. And he says the same exact thing. He goes, Em had sex with mom. You need to call dad. And at that point, I can feel my heart like start pounding. I'm the type of person, and I think I've always been this way, but I'm the type of person where I'm like, I'll believe it when I see it. So I'm still denying what he just said at this point. And he goes back inside. I'm in like a total state of shock. Like, I don't even think I'm processing the fact that what he said was what he said. Like, that happened. It was like, that is so crazy. I'm so confused.
Like, there's no way.
Like, it just doesn't make sense to me. So I call my dad, and my dad immediately picks up, and he is like dead serious in his voice. You know, and you can just tell. All he says is, meet me up at the top of the driveway. And we kind of live out in the country, so we have like this long gravel driveway that goes up to the main road, and it's like nighttime. It's pitch black. There's no lights on this gravel road. So I'm walking up this gravel road in the middle of December up to the top of the road to go meet my dad, and I'm just like panicking. I'm not crying, I'm not like freaking out, but internally I am panicking because I don't know what's going on. I haven't looked at my phone once again. Like, I don't know why I didn't look at my phone, but like my messages. And so I'm just walking up there and I'm thinking, okay, something had to have happened because
How do you talk to your father then?
my dad's not here and he's having me walk up to the top of the road right now. And I get up there. His truck is at the top of the road and I hop in, and I have never, I think before that point, I'd maybe seen my dad cry once when my grandpa died, his dad. But other than that, I don't think I've ever seen my dad cry before that. And when I got in my dad's truck and he looked at me, and there were
This is a thing with men. Men will cry when someone important to them dies. When something bad happens with their children. And when their partner destroys their life. Shows you that men cry when it actually matters. Men cry at the most pivotal or just most important parts in their life. Most destructive, it's just this is why her story is why I wanted to create this channel. Why I've been invested in the struggles of men, because men are struggling. Men are struggling. They are. Men are suffering. And here's the thing. A lot of times it's at our own hands. Okay, I do agree. A lot of men are struggling because of their own actions, but a lot of times it's not what they didn't mean it. You know, who knew that you would marry a woman that is so disgusting? Who knew?
were tears coming, down his face. That's when it really sank in, because I'd never seen my dad that broken before. And he said the same thing that my brother had said to me in the garage, that my boyfriend had sex with my mom. And at that point, I'm sitting in his passenger seat and I just remember losing it. Like, I don't remember what came out of my mouth, but I remember being so distraught. Like, what, how, hysterically crying, all that stuff. And my dad's trying to hold it together, of course. He's always tried to be the strong individual in the family.
Right, because he's hurt.
Yeah.
But then he also has to see you being
Right.
hurt and heartbroken. So it's like a double whammy.
Mm-hmm. So some time passes while we're up there, and then we eventually go back down to the house. And again, like growing up, I was the good kid, never really talked back to my parents, never talked back to really any adults. Didn't have much of like a potty mouth or anything like that. And I walked into that house and I ran straight to my parents' bedroom where my mom was laying on the bed in the fetal position, absolutely hysterically sobbing. And I ran in there. And I say this jokingly, but it's like when you're watching a show or a movie and it's like beep, 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 beep. Like every single cuss word was coming out of my mouth. I was throwing my hands. I was cussing her out. I was screaming at her. I was like, how could you do this? You know, I unleashed. And I have never to this day ever gotten so upset and angry with somebody ever before in my life.
Yeah, that's pretty bad.
And I didn't like, you know, I didn't hit her or anything. Like, but I stood there and just think about it. Like, and I'm an empathetic person. So I'm like putting myself in that position that she was in right now. Imagine you're on, you know, the bed, curled up, sobbing, bawling your eyes out, and somebody is screaming, fuck you, like a million times to your face. But all I saw was red. I mean, from that moment on, she was not my mom. She was not my best friend. She was not anybody that I wanted anything to do with. Like I'd felt so destroyed and so betrayed and so confused and just every emotion that you could think of. And I just let it out. Like I was so ugly, rightfully so. But I remember that being the one and only moment in my life where I've ever gotten to that point. Because ask anybody that knows me, I can't get angry. Like I can't yell, I can't get upset with people, but
I to find out
Absolutely.
sometimes. But you know, when you said like you try to put yourself in her position of like being there and crying and getting cussed at and betraying, and then I feel like you even probably had anger in there for your dad as well and your brother and your family. Like I mean, she didn't only hurt you, she hurt your whole family.
Yeah, and I'll get into that because I think a lot of the story, I guess, is more of the after versus the, you know, before in the actual situation. So, you know, that happens, cuss her out. And I am at this point now, I've looked at my phone. Obviously M has completely blown it up. There's a million I'm so sorries and stuff like that on there. Missed calls, text messages. I'd overheard my dad on the phone with his mom, M's mom, and like they were yelling at each other because I guess she had put the blame on my mom entirely and all of that. So I am just like beside myself, distraught. I go up to my room and I am just like sitting there on my bed, like what the fuck just happened? And my dad comes upstairs and he sits right next to me and we're kind of just, you know, sitting there in silence and both absorbing what we have experienced. And he looks at me and he says, do you think I should divorce mom? And looking back on that, I understand why he asked me that question, but I am a firm believer that, you know, kids shouldn't get involved in their parents' relationships unless, you know.
100%. This is a thing where it shows you more of why this cop, this man, yo, Alvy, yeah, Delulu, yo, Alvy, thank you for stopping by, bro. Love you, miss ya. This is why it shows you this type of man, shows you his character, asking his daughter if he should do something, if he should divorce his wife. Are you kidding me? Be a man. Be a man. You should divorce your wife because she did not respect you. I guarantee, and here's the thing, I'm not hearing it from her mouth that it was a sexist marriage because of course she's a child, she wouldn't know. But I guarantee you it was a sexless marriage. So to think that this man is in, again, I'm assuming a sexless marriage. You know, they're arguing constantly. Things are heated. Your wife is dressing up, looking young for someone else, not you, because for years she most likely haven't. She most likely didn't care about her looks. And all of a sudden, she cares about her looks. And then she's putting her attention to someone else. Anytime attention comes to you, is arguments, is fight. Yo, bro! Had this all face, brother. Yo, love you, bro. Thank you for all the love. Alvy, you're amazing. You're amazing, bro. And then to find out your wife is cheating on you, having an affair with a fucking boy? With a boy, let alone your daughter's boyfriend. Hell yeah, you should divorce her. Seriously, be a man. Be a man with a backbone. This is a thing where so many men, so many husbands are doormats. I hear constantly. This is why these men got married. Because this is the thing where, honestly, it's like these men don't know how to be men. In my opinion. Okay? If you're a man that's a doormat, that has no backbone, I'm sorry. How can you call yourself a man? When you're a man that has no self-respect in yourself, the woman you love, the woman you provide for, the woman you protect, the woman you have kids with, has an affair, cheats on you with a boy, cheats on you with your daughter's boyfriend, and you have the insanity to ask your daughter, oh, should I divorce her? Really? No, duh, you should.
Certain circumstances require it, but it wasn't my job to tell my dad what he should do with my mom. I knew that right in that moment. I didn't want.
Oh, I love this quote. From Anthony. A woman will sacrifice her family for her happiness. Men will sacrifice their happiness for their family. And I get it. This is why I said men in general, I'm not saying all men, but I believe a lot of men, I honestly believe majority of men are selfless. Selfless. The sad part is that they marry women who are usually selfish. Men will suffer through a sexless marriage just to give their children stability, just to give their wife stability. You know, this is a thing where I had an ex, my baby mom. I told her we haven't had sex for over a year. But it's like I said to her, and I wanted, it's a complicated story. She wanted to have kids quick. I didn't really want to. I wanted to wait until, we get marriage first and then kids. But she's like, oh, let's just have kids now and then we worry about marriage later. Okay, fine. Had that. And I was like, and then then it's just like, it just went downhill. But since I had kids with her already, I said, I'm still fine with marriage. I'm still fine. I want to marry you. Although we had a sexless relationship. I ain't getting any. I was a doormat. I was spineless. But she said to me, why would I want to marry you? I already have the kids. I'm like, what? What does that mean? What do you mean? It's like, she said to me, there's no point in marrying you. I already have the kids. I'm like, what? I was willing to sacrifice myself, not care about my feelings. I will be loyal to a woman that treats me like shit, to a woman that I didn't get no sex, no kisses, no hugs for over a year. I was willing to marry you, willing to marry her because I had kids with her, because I was stupid. Men are stupid. Men are stupid. But I didn't want my kids to be in a broken household. To only learn that she didn't even care. She didn't. Men are stupid. We are stupid because we would that's the thing. You sacrifice your own happiness for your family when others wouldn't. Shows you how stupid you are. Being selfless is only for the stupid.
To tell my dad what to do about his relationship. And I don't know why I felt like I needed to think about that over how I was feeling. I think that's just who I am as a person. I tend to think about other people's feelings before my own. And I remember just sitting there next to him and I said no. I don't know why I said no, but I said no. And I just remember being so sad for my dad that he had to be in the position to not only address his own needs, but mine. And it had to do with his own wife. And I felt like he really wanted to protect me. But by me saying, like, I don't think you should divorce her, or however he perceived it, like, I wasn't going to be telling him what to do. Ultimately,
You affected his decision. The insanity for you to tell your father not to divorce your cheating ass mom is insane. When I was a kid, my dad was an asshole. He treated my mom like shit. Treated my mom like shit. Me and my sister have consistently, since childhood, told my mom to leave him. Told my mom to leave him. Because this is a thing where his presence did not help the family. His presence did not make the family better. It actually made it worse. He was toxic. She chose poorly, 100%. But for her to stay with him did not help her kids. It didn't. She believed, oh, I did this for you guys so you guys could be in a stable, 2-parent household. But it wasn't stable. He wasn't a good father. One thing is like I was saying, fine, I was gonna marry my baby mom, even though it was a sexless marriage, but I would still be a good father, present there for them. So really, that's the thing where, okay, yes, you guys didn't love each other, or he didn't love you, fine, but he was still a shitty father. So really, that did not help the family dynamic. When one, he's a shitty husband. Two, he's also a shitty father. So really, that mindset, it didn't help at all. Oh, no, that's agreed. Okay. I was overreacting in my mind. I thought that, the man should have beat up the boyfriend. But yes, that's overreacting. I agree. Especially for a cop, that's overreacting.
I think to this day, that really speaks volumes about our relationship, because he, again, like, wants to take care of people before he takes care of himself. So when he came to ask me that question, it was like he would have done it if he had to for me,
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't sit with the fact that I was going to make that decision for him. So I guess that's why I did tell him no. So, that whole night, obviously I didn't sleep. We were on the phone with M and his mom, and just going back and forth, what the hell? How did it get to this point? And I just kind of remember withdrawing, totally almost dissociating. I started to feel like I was just slowly leaving reality. My life was not my life anymore at that point. I had no idea how I was going to recover. I had no idea how I was going to face M. I had no idea how I was going to go back to school. There were so many things going on in my brain. And so and to this day I still do this, but that morning I did what I normally do when I get really in my head and upset. I went out for a run. And I remember it was 5 or 6 in the morning. I couldn't sleep the whole night, but I left the house and I drove. So I just felt very alone, and I felt very unsure of what my next move was every single day. And I had arranged to meet up with M before I went back to school, because I wanted to, see him and hear his side of the story. And when I met up with...
What side of the story? How did he enter your mom? What side is the story you want to hear? This is a thing where it's just, you prove how idiotic you are. There shouldn't be no side of the story. You were attracted to a dirtbag. Your mom is a dirtbag. You don't need it's like, why would you? This is the thing with women and closure. Fuck closure. What is he gonna say that would change or help the situation?
with him.
How long after was this?
It was probably within a week.
Okay.
It wasn't too much long afterwards. But my dad dropped me off at this coffee shop, and I met up with him, and my dad literally waited in the parking lot and watched us from the window, because at this point he's like, I'm gonna kill this guy.
Yeah.
So I remember meeting up with him, and he had no words to say. He was just very sorry. He was very remorseful. And I just kept asking him. I was like, why? Why did it happen? What did I do wrong? Was I not good enough for you? and this is a really big part of my story, but I felt like I was to blame for this because if he was sleeping with my mom and he wasn't sleeping with me, it was because I wasn't giving him what he wanted, or I wasn't, pretty enough for him or developed enough for him or whatever. Like, I started to associate the event and why it happened with myself and what I was lacking. So I didn't really get any answers from that whole meetup. And we just kind of said, like, we're going to mind our own going back to school. And it was so weird. It was like, okay, this really crazy bad thing happened, and now we're going to go back and go on with life. And that was how it was treated. I went back to school. I had 6 more months of school left, and I had to live at home. I was only going like less than an hour away for school, so it wasn't like I was going to be escaping. But I didn't want to be around my mom. I didn't want to look at her. I did not want to have anything to do with her. But I had to suck it up. I was like, I told myself, I said 6 more months, and I'm going to get out of this house, and I don't ever have to be around her again. And so I went into survival mode for the rest of my senior year of high school, and I just put my head down and tried to make it through. I remember going back to school, and I didn't think that it was going to be something that everybody knew about, but where I grew up and where I lived, it was not like a small town, but it had a very small town like dynamic where everybody knew everybody's business, and stories spread like wildfire. So I get back to school, and the very first day of school, the librarian during passing time approaches me. Mind you, I've had maybe 2 or 3 conversations my entire 4 years at this high school with this librarian. I don't know anything about her, and she approaches me like she knows me and is so concerned for me, and she pulls me aside. She's like, Brooke, I am so sorry about what happened. And I remember looking at her like in shock, like, how do you...
So disgusting. This is a thing where women are the epitome of exactly that quote. Women will sacrifice their family for their own happiness. This is the thing where I've heard these stories where single mothers do OF, not caring that stigma is going to affect their child. They don't care if people are now like looking at your child differently or making fun of your child. They don't care. They don't care about other people. They only care about themselves. And you consistently see it over and over again, how selfish so many women are. Again, not all women, I agree. But again, I think there is a lot, if not the majority. Controversial, yes. But I think even the supposed good ones are fake. They're actually selfish in nature. Because this is a thing where you prove it. Here's a wife. A wife with a mother who, in actuality, her facade, she's just a selfish bitch.
How do you know? Like, if you know, then everybody else knows. And I just looked at her, and I remember I just was frozen. I didn't know what to say, and I felt like tears were welling up in my eyes, and I couldn't get out of there quick enough. And so I was on my way to class, and instead of going to class, I ended up going to the bathroom, and I just bawled my eyes out. I was like, I am not gonna make it. Like, everybody's gonna know. I still, at this point, so the way that our terms worked is like, we had Christmas break, and then we had a few weeks after Christmas break in January, which is when finals happened, and then the new semester started, so I would get different classes. So I still had a couple weeks of having a class with him, and I couldn't leave the class because it was so close to the end. I also couldn't neglect the class because I'm trying to be valedictorian. I still have all of these things that I have to accomplish by the time I leave high school. I still have all my priorities that I had before. I still have to maintain my level of success and my image and my performance, because that was all I was before that. All I was a good student and a good athlete and a good, by the book type of person. There wasn't much variance to me. And I just remember, like, I just like dissociated every time I was in that class. I wouldn't look at him. I wouldn't even have any reaction. I would just be a robot. And then I would leave, and I would go to the bathroom, and I would cry before I went to my next class. And I would usually cry on the way to class. And I started to like become very closeted in how I like processed my emotions. So I would be very quote unquote normal and cool around other people and pretend like nothing's wrong. And then when I was by myself, I would break down. And I had nobody. I mean, I told none of my friends, like myself. Obviously, everybody knew. I told none of my friends. At this point, I hadn't talked to like my dad's side of the family, who I'm close with, about it. I had nobody that I could go to.
Did you talk to your mom at all, or no?
So I'll get into that. Like, and this is how I like discovered what was happening. Was I eventually had to just be like, look, you got to tell me.
But at this point, like at home, you were just kind of
Yeah, I was trying to like, I would,
avoid.
yeah, go to practice. I would spend as long as I could at practice. I would get home. I would eat, shower, do my homework, stay in my bus ride. And these boys are talking with M about how he, you know, screwed my brother's mom. Like they're saying that on the bus ride in front of my brother. So my brother's going through this situation where he's not only embarrassed and traumatized and alone, but it's also like he's getting bullied. And my brother is a very sweet person, and he's a lot like my dad. He cares a lot about people, and he's not one to really stand up for himself, I would say. He's a lot more like docile. So he just like experienced so much shit from these guys on this trip, and I think that really, really broke him because he struggled a lot after this, and I'll get into that. So anyways, I get to the point to where I want to know, and I don't remember how I approached her, but I had a conversation with my mom, and I was like, I need you to tell me how long this has been going on for and what happened and where, and I don't want to know everything, but I want to know the answers to these questions that I'm going to ask you, and I don't want you to leave anything out. You can't lie to me. You've already messed up. Like there's nothing that you can do to save yourself here. So I had found out that it had been going on for about like almost 2 months. So it was not just a one-time thing. It was on multiple occasions, and it had happened both in our house and out of the house. It had happened while we were all in the house, and she had admitted to, so remember when I said I got my wisdom teeth out and I was being taken care of and I was, you know, on the couch and all that stuff, the way that our house was set up, we had an open like space where our living room and our kitchen was, so there wasn't like a separation. And I was on the couch and I was laying facing the other way, so I couldn't see them behind me in the kitchen. And during this time when they were taking care of me, she admitted to touching him and kissing him behind me while I'm on the couch. I mean, literally like a couple feet behind me. I have no idea any of this was going on. I found out that it had happened, you know, literally he would leave my room, say goodnight, and send his way, or he would be sent out, and on his way out, he would, you know, meet her at a location in my house and see her, and stuff would happen. Nobody would be home, and he would come over.
Was he a
and
virgin or no?
No.
Okay.
Yeah. No, I think he had had one girlfriend before this, and she was older too, I think. I think she might have been a year or two older.
And did she tell you, like, why? Did she just say, oh, I just liked
So,
him?
yeah, I'll get into that. But yeah, there was another situation that I vividly remember. Like, looking back on this, I'm like, oh my God, how did I not know? But I had planned to meet him at our track because I was going to throw balls with him. He was a pitcher. So I was like, yeah, I'll play catch with you after I'm done with my run. So I'm running around the track, and you can see the parking lot from the track, and I see his car pull up as I'm running. And I'm like, oh, that's weird. He's getting out of his car and he's changing his shorts. Why? Like, why didn't you just change at home or whatever? You know, just was kind of weird. And come to find out that right before he had met me, he was with my mom. And she admitted that they would meet up regularly at this park, not too far from our house. And, you know, they would do it in the car. And so he was literally coming from that and then coming to spend time with me. And it like nothing stood out to me like it was like he was being weird. But yeah, so I have not to this day wanted to ask about everything and wanted to know about everything.
I said it. Are you surprised by jocks? No, I'm not. This is a thing where I'm amazed. I'm amazed that women will create a sexless marriage, yet they will find while they have a man, they won't give no sex to him, yet they are fine with giving sex to other people. It's amazing. It really is. It really is, because it's just like, it boggles my mind. You know, it really is. So you wouldn't leave the man, you wouldn't leave your husband, but it's fine, but you don't want to have sex with your husband. Yet, during the same time, you're going to have sex with other people. It's really weird. It just really boggles my mind. So I really want, I gotta find a video where women would talk about that, because I am fascinated by that mentality. I'm fascinated by the mentality that, okay, you didn't want to have sex with your husband, but you're fine with staying with your husband and also having sex with other people. I don't know. Yo, Parasocial. Thank you, bro. Thank you. You're amazing. Yo, you're amazing, bro. Absolutely amazing.
because truthfully, I don't want to know. It's really obviously disgusting to me and really hard to think about. But I think what was more important to me was not necessarily what happened, but why it happened. Like you said, I've always been like a why kid. Like ask anybody that knows me growing up. I was always like, why? Like you ask my boyfriend and he's like, I'm not Google. And I'm like always asking these random questions like, why is it this way? But I just wanted to know why. Why did this happen? What was my role in it? And how can I?
Yo, happy. Thank you with well wishes. So for the people who didn't catch the beginning, I'm not gonna have a Monday stream. I most likely won't have a Wednesday stream. What I'm going to do is have a Tuesday stream, New Year's Eve. So if you're not doing anything, right? If you guys are free, here's the thing: I ain't doing nothing. I don't have a girl where I'm going out or doing shit. I'm not doing anything. So, just like what I did for Christmas, I spent my Christmas with my brothers, right? With my brothers. I spent Christmas with my brothers. So, I'm going to, if you guys are free, if you guys ain't doing shit, I want to spend New Year's Eve with my brothers for us to ring in the New Year's. The stream will go on pretty long, you know? So if you guys ain't doing shit, why not? Right? But I hope you guys do have plans. Right? I hope you guys do have plans. Because I wish you guys the best, you know? Go have fun, you know, meet girls, do shit with your other friends. I wish you guys the best. If you guys ain't doing shit like me, I ain't doing shit. I will be here on Tuesday, New Year's Eve, okay? I will be ringing the New Year's with my brothers, okay? So please join Tuesday. Won't have one on Monday. I will be doing a New Year's Eve special with my brothers, okay? So for Tuesday, I just wanted to tell you guys.
Like fix this, like because I've also always had that fix type of mentality where I have to fix everything. I have to take care of that. Exactly. I'm like, no.
And while you're just laying there on the couch.
Exactly.
Like,
that's where I was like, I don't think that that's the case. So what I come to find out is that, I knew about my mom's childhood. I knew about my mom's upbringing. I knew how she didn't have a mom figure.
So what I wanted to talk about too is that, here's the thing. Childhood traumas, I understand that, trauma that, your parents, all these shit, okay, that happened in your childhood. I get it. But here's the thing where it comes to being an adult. Okay, it comes to being an adult. The shit that affected you as a child, okay, when you were suffering as a child, you act out, you do shit, understandable. Understandable. However you acted as a child, I get it. It is a valid excuse as a child to act how you act because of the trauma. But here's the thing. It is no longer an excuse. No longer an excuse once you're an adult. This is the thing where a lot of us don't understand or we give excuses for. You're an adult. You're an adult. There's points where, you know what? Start acting like an adult. Take responsibility. Take accountability. Fix your shit. Fix it. Handle it. When your trauma is now affecting other people, that shit does not fly. Suffer in silence, I get it. But you know what? Control yourself. Do shit to fix your things, right? She's an adult. This is the thing, because why I said adult is a different thing, because once we are adults, we have power, abilities to rectify our traumas, i.e. understanding, i.e. therapy, i.e. you can pay for shit to make yourself happy. Go on trips, go on travels, do shit to actually handle your past traumas. Fix your past traumas. Because it's no longer an excuse to be lazy and just wallow in your past trauma. It really isn't.
In her life, and that she had a lot of issues. She also didn't ever talk about her issues. We never really understood why she was the way she was. She, aside from her, neurotic exercising behavior, she had extreme OCD with cleaning. And it was so bad that like if we were eating, she would be so quick. If we had dropped a single crumb, she would take out, the rags and the wipes and clean up around us while we're eating. She'd be vacuuming and sweeping right under us as we're eating. She didn't let any shoes in the house. Like everything had to be tidy and orderly every time we left the house. Like she was so obsessed with cleaning, and you could tell that she had several behaviors that indicated she had OCD. So I say this with a lot of love, but you've got to be very, very messed up in order to sleep with your daughter's boyfriend. It's not just these little issues that you have, or you were diagnosed with this. Like this is her whole life piling up on her and all of her traumas that she never addressed, that came out in very deliberate behavior that she chose to do. And I just don't believe that you are not severely messed up in some way, because any other person, and older women, mothers that I've told this story to, any other person in that position, like they can't even comprehend doing that to their child. Like if I have a kid, if I have a daughter, I can't even imagine like even thinking about something like that happening.
Well, there's that aspect, but even just there's a very twisted aspect.
There's a thing where any man that truly finds a good woman, that is the epitome of true luckiness. Because here's the thing where I think ride or die women are rare now. They're rare because ride or die women are picked up very quickly. Good women are hard to find. They're hard to find. It's like you ain't gonna find a woman that will live and die for you. It's a sad thing for a lot of men.
Back to the age difference in my opinion as well. Like that is just, I think that on its own is something that like there has to be something off there.
Yeah.
Because even if it didn't have to do with you, it's like that's just, it's a little bit of a gap.
And this is the thing. He turned 18 in October, and I don't know if I actually don't think it happened before then. But because he was 18, my mom didn't have any, I guess you could say, legal consequences, because what ended up happening was my mom was a teacher for the same school district. She was an elementary school teacher. And because she was a teacher in the school district and M was a student of the school district, his mom reported my mom, and my mom lost her job. So that was also a big issue at that time in my life. Like my mom wasn't working because of this. And I think she just felt like him being younger, it was exciting. It was, this younger guy making her feel good about herself, making her feel young again, making her feel seen.
Did you ever find out like who kind of like started it? Like if she kind of like.
I didn't.
Okay.
I think.
Like it just makes you wonder. Like I just think even too, like when you're a child, like that's scary. I feel like to like you're taking some risks there. It's like I feel like even if you get that okay from the older party of like, okay, like let's do this. Like I don't know, just kind of putting myself in the shoes of if I was 18 years old and a 40-year-old guy was like, I just like I'd be pretty nervous.
Yeah. And I can touch on that because I think I'm ready to kind of jump into the whole after effect of this all, because that's what I'm like really passionate about speaking about. So like I said, it was survival mode from that point on until I graduated. I had the worst track season of my entire life. I was running times that like were not that of somebody going into a Pac-12 Division I program. I was running slower than I did in middle school. I was so broken that I was not sleeping. I was not recovering. I was not eating. I was falling apart. By the grace of God, I somehow still, survived what your grandson did. Like, if that's the only reason why you gave me money, I don't want your money. Like, it was just one of those moments where I was like, this just makes it worse. And so I'm like, glad that I'm out of high school. I'm glad I'm getting out. Granted, it's not as far as I'd want it to be, but I'm getting out. And when I leave for college, I'm like liberated, like I can finally be on my own. And not even just because of what had happened, but after what had happened, I started to look at my mom for who she was. And I started to see how many things that she did for me and had influenced in me that were not healthy and that had made me into a person that truly wasn't me. She didn't really listen to the parts of me that I felt like were the real me, like personality wise. And
you didn't really have your own identity.
Yeah, exactly. I had zero identity, zero chosen identity. I had really bad anxiety growing up. I've always been very anxious, but I didn't know what anxiety was. I would get so anxious before races that I would like start to hyperventilate. And at one point she thought that I had asthma and like life that I wanted to live. And I was hanging out with my teammates and my friends, and I was meeting a lot of new people, and I was exploring and just doing things that you do when you go to college. And because I had never experienced that level of freedom, I think I took it a little too far, and I started partying, not excessively at this point, but like in my head, it was, you know, a big change for me because I'd never done any of that stuff when I was in high school. Like most of my peers had already, you know, experienced drinking and smoking and going to parties and just being a normal teenager, young adult. So when I discovered like how I could feel an escape from these things, I became obsessed with it. And it was like that high, you know, that thing that I would look forward to, like, okay, I feel really shitty about myself right now, but I'm gonna go out later tonight with my friends and get dressed up and feel pretty and we're gonna have fun and life's gonna be good. And all this time, like I eventually opened up to some teammates. I'd even opened up to my coach, which was a huge deal for me because
This is a thing where what you just kind of really glanced already talk about, right? Dressing up, having parties, having fun, all that shit, living life. This is a thing where I honestly think women in particular don't understand how they are so controlled by their emotions. Where they don't understand that, honestly, you are going down a destructive road. Right? Because the whole, and I get it, have fun, all that shit, I understand. But I think there's a lot of times, a certain point where, you know, the mistakes we make as young adults have ramifications into our later adulthood. You know, and I think that, you know, establishing good behaviors, good mindset is very important. She was suffering because of the shit that's happened to her. So instead of, you know what, gaining some more emotional intelligence, gaining some intelligence, she just let loose, be controlled by her emotions, you know, and just, I don't know. To be honest, it's just like, I just see that, okay, now, because of the shit you happened to you, now you're in college, you just want to live life up and shit like that. It's like, I don't know if that's a good path in my opinion, but I don't know.
felt so like embarrassed because he had met my parents and I'm like, excuse me, you know, if he's going to hear this and think differently of them, you know, is he going to think differently of me? Is he going to treat me any differently? Which he didn't. I really appreciated how much he cared for me in that time in my life. But I was just so good at ignoring my problems during this time because I didn't want to face the fact that what had happened was actually like so damaging to me and that I needed help and I needed somebody to be there and tell me like, Brooke, you need to like heal from this. You need to find a way to build yourself back up from this. And I thought I was, because I thought, oh, I'm going to college, I'm gonna be an athlete, I'm gonna be doing all these things, I can finally make my own choices. Like I will be building myself back up. I'm gonna meet new people, I'm gonna, you know, have new relationships, I'm gonna rewrite my story. Well, all I found myself in was like night after night of being in tears, wondering why I feel this way, and just living in this like constant state of pity. I ended up getting hurt my freshman year and I had to redshirt, which isn't abnormal for student athletes their first year of college. But after that, I had really struggled to come back from my injury and I ended up having the same injury on the other side. So I had a stress fracture on the head of my femur, which is the part of your like femur that inserts into your hip. I really hated myself. I had no self-esteem. I found my value in the way that other people made me feel. I was very like weak when it came to letting people take advantage of me. I wasn't like somebody that would just go,
I mean, she's exactly saying the things I was just saying. So instead of spending the time to emotionally heal, to gain some emotional intelligence, to gain some intelligence, to actually better yourself, you want to get the dopamine effect, right? Of like college life, you know, have fun, you know, live it up, all that shit. But it's a lie. It's these, like, what is it? The, quick happiness, right? Like it's like drugs essentially, you know, like the shooting up shit like that, you know, the quick high, you know, the momentarily, you know, euphoria of, you know, living it up, but you are just escaping your problems. You're not facing it. You're not, you know, becoming stronger from it. You're not, you know, fighting your problems. You're not bettering your life. You're just escaping your reality, right? So you're not bettering yourself. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
sleeping around, but if the opportunity presented itself, I took it because I just felt like it was one of those like quick fixes, you know, like I'm going to feel good about myself in this moment. This person wants me, you know, this is how I am going to be seen. And I think a lot of people.
She just said she's going to sleep around. So rack up that body count. Yeah, that's good. That's going to make you a better woman. Yeah. So would you be surprised that, you know what? Potentially, potentially you will now repeat a generational curse. This is a thing where her grandmom cheated on the husband, her mom cheated on the husband. You think would, in my opinion, I'm not saying who, what she would do, but now there's a higher likelihood that she will do the same. I've seen it time and time again. Honestly, a lot of people, women will repeat generational curses. If your grandmom was a single mom, your mom was a single mom, there is a very high likelihood that the daughter will also become a single mom. I've seen it countless times before. Generational curses. Because honestly, like I said, these people, these women, they're not actually, improving themselves. They're not actually fixing their mental issues. They're staying in their instability. They're staying in their chaos.
Relate to that. I think when you go through a situation that involves infidelity and involves people, betraying your trust with physical intimacy, I think that starts to become a thing in your mind that you use as a coping mechanism to feel better about yourself. Because if it happened, and like I said, if it happened and it was because I wasn't, good enough for him or whatever, like I told myself in my brain, I thought that I needed to get to a point to where I was confident in myself doing this and I was good at it, and I wouldn't have to like leave a situation like that knowing that like I wasn't good. And so like I made it like a point to be that type of person, and it wasn't like I was outwardly seeking it, but I would really like do everything I could to make sure that like from a physical standpoint I was desired. And so I was really invested in like just getting people's attention for that reason, and I thought that if I ended the night with somebody, or if I had a little fling or whatever, like that meant that I was desirable. That meant that I was a good person. That meant that I was seen and that I was special. And I really felt like my value came down to my physical appearance and like who I presented myself to be in that regard. So
I honestly believe so. Loyalty is rewarding. It should be rewarding. It should be. Sadly, people are loyal to shitty people. And shitty people, toxic people, won't ever reward you.
So I ended up medically retiring from track. And once I did that, I just totally full-blown party girl at this point, and this is where it really kicked off. I was living with one of my good guy friends from college at the time, and he was in a frat, and so I would hang around him and all of his frat buddies. And at this point, like, I'm not doing anything that I would say is like just crazy, like drinking and drugs. But for me, again, like this is all for me, as somebody that was very by the book and never deviated from being like healthy and dedicated to doing the right thing. This was like a big change for me in my personality. So I was drinking, I was smoking, I was just kind of fully diving into that lifestyle. I was hooking up with people, and like my whole existence just depended on feeling like I was desired and I felt good. And I never looked at myself in the mirror and said like, I need help. I need to address the pain that the situation has caused. I need to address the pain that my mom has caused. I need to understand who I am, like create my own identity. Like none of that was on my mind at the time because I was still in the state of survival. I was trying so hard to figure out how I could feel better that I ignored all of the real problems. And all while this is going on, I'm not going home for the holidays. I'm not going home to visit. I ended up becoming best friends with one of my teammates who is still my friend to this day. Love her. Shout out to Michaela. But she is from where I live now. And so that was like what brought us together. And she'd offered for me to come stay with her during the holidays, and it ended up being like ever really close with her growing up. So when I got into college and she had approached me about what had happened and she was like, I'm here for you, I really grabbed a hold of that, and she became like a mom to me. And to this day, my aunt is probably like the closest thing that I have to a mom. I would not know where I would be without her. I truly, and I don't mean this like lightly, I truly think I'd be dead without her. I don't know how far I would have made it because I got really bad at some point. And so she was there for me throughout college. And even though she didn't know how bad I was struggling at the time, I think she could tell that I needed a different escape than what I was finding. And so I would go visit her, and I would go camping, and I would go hiking, and I would just do all these fun things with her. And it was like, stuff that I wished that I could do with my mom, because every time we were together doing these things, we would talk and we would talk about life and we would talk about the situation. We would process my thoughts and my feelings and my emotions. And she kind of became like my therapist, but also like my confidant. And I started opening up to her, and I felt like this strong bond growing between us. And I don't remember where like it really became clear to me, but I was like, this is what it's probably supposed to feel like between a mother and a daughter. And I've never felt like this with my mom, because my aunt really saw me and she cared about who I was. Stay here. So I apply for this summer school job in Maine, totally like random, like I Googled like camp counselor jobs, and I'm like, that's the furthest away from here. I'll do that. And then got the job and went to Maine for 3 months during the summer. And that was probably the start of me doing something that was really good for my growth and my identity, because up until this point, I had no desire to really be far away from camp ends. And then the fall comes. This is my senior year of college. It's 2019. Keep in mind the next year's COVID. So I had plans to go back to Corvallis after that. Well, when we were at the summer camp, we didn't make much money, and I kind of blew it all afterwards when we were traveling, because we, as a group, some of us who became friends, we ended up going on like this 2-week road trip after the summer camp, and it was so much fun. Like we drove from Maine all the way, through New York and back, and self anymore that I felt like if I was going home, it was just gonna like put me into an even worse position. And so I told myself, I was like, okay, I'm just gonna stay here. I'm gonna get a job, work while I'm in school, save up money, and then move out. Like that was my plan. I was focused. And first thing that happens when I get back home is my brother's friend is over, and he's like, oh my gosh, Logan, or my brother, he's like, since when did your sister like have a glow up? Because I had, finally matured into a woman at this point. And I probably should have known at that point not to date any of my brother's friends. But this friend that was also one of my brother's friends, he and I ended up starting to date when I got back home. And I think it was because he wanted me, and that was what I felt like I needed to feel good about myself. I don't think I actually really wanted to be in a relationship with him. I think it was just one of those things where he wants me, it makes me
this is the thing where starting this channel, having to watch all these videos of women, is that I've learned that women are shitty at vetting men. Women are shitty at picking men. They really are. And it's like, this is the thing where it's amazing to me, where women are the ones who have options. It's like, here's the thing. Let's say me, okay? In 2024, I've maybe gone on like 2 dates. So, and I'm not talking to women. I'm not doing anything. So really, I have 0 options. So I have really no one to pick from. Yet for women, in general, they may have hundreds of options, hundreds of different men to pick from. Yet you have so much options, yet you consistently pick wrong. You consistently pick wrong. You consistently make steps to just pick and put yourself into shitty relationships, being with shitty men, being in shitty situations. It's like, really? I don't know. It's like, I would think that if I have so much options, things would be better. I would, it's like, I don't know. I would be with better women. I don't know. I mean, I'm just amazed when you have so much options, yet you fail so hard. I don't know. I can't understand it. Maybe because I'm going about it from a man's point of view, average man's point of view, from a man looking out. It's like, I would think that if you have so many options, you would be doing better in dating. When you have 0 options, of course you're doing shitty in dating. But when you have so much, why are you failing? Why are you picking shitty people? Why are you being in shitty relationships? It amazes me. Yet women consistently are in it. Like literally, you dated your brother's friend who had sex with your mother. You come back years later to date another of your brother's friend. It's like, really, girl? Do you not understand that, you know what, you're stupid? I mean, come on, wise up a bit.
good and it's a distraction from being at home, and he knows about my family's stories, so I don't have to explain things to him, and it was just kind of convenient for me. So I was dating this guy for a while, and when I was dating him, it was like just emotional chaos in my brain. Like I had so many issues with like every little thing. If it felt off, I would freak out and I would take it so personally. And he was also a virgin, so because he didn't want to have sex, I was like, well, like you don't like me, like, you know, you don't think I'm beautiful, like stuff like that. And that's what this whole situation really instilled in my brain was, if I am not physically desired by somebody, then what is my worth? Because this happened over sex. So clearly it was because I wasn't, you know, meeting that standard for my ex. So I have to like nail this now. Like this is the most important thing to me in life. And it's what's going to keep my relationships together. And so we dated for a little bit, and we ended up breaking up because he said he couldn't handle my emotions. And that was a very, very hard pill for me to swallow, because at the time I took that
Yo, this is a thing where I know every man has dealt with it. It's hard. It is so hard to deal with women's emotions. It really is. It's like a roller coaster. Really, it's like, seriously, one moment you're happy, one moment you're sad, one moment you're angry. It's like, what, like, who are you right now? Please tell me. Please warn me beforehand, because God, it's like, serious. It's draining. I'm like, you know, it's just, women will never sympathize with men in that aspect. To know that literally dating women is so emotionally draining, it is insane. And no women sympathize for men. They don't sympathize for men having to deal with such a struggle. It is just, it will drive men insane.
as I am so much of a burden that not only now do I have this like, you know, insecurity over physical intimacy in a relationship and trusting people, but I also now have this insecurity over my emotions. And now because I have emotional problems, like I'm also undesirable. So like I had these things from both sides coming at me, and I just felt like I just wasn't good enough in any way. And I could no longer stand being at home. At this point, COVID was happening and everybody was, you know, online and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, you know what? I've saved up enough money. I'm going to graduate and I'm going to go on with my life and I can go wherever I want. So I left and I moved a couple hours away to Central Oregon, got random roommates that did not end very well, which usually, I mean, it's hit or miss. I've had random roommates in the past and it's gone both directions. This situation did not go well. And I lasted maybe like 3 months out there until I had to come back home again. And at this point, I'm like, okay, I am not, I can't stay at home, but I can't make it on my own right now. I was trying to apply for master degree programs. I got my bachelor's degree in psychology. So I went to get my master's degree in psychology, and I did it online because it's still the pandemic. So I'm like, okay, I can live anywhere, but I don't want to live at home. And I'm talking to my dad at this time, and I'd already established like connections down in Fresno because of my teammate, and my dad's family was down there. And they were not in the position to support me like on my own. So my dad was like, well, you have two choices. He's like, you could stay here and deal with that, or you can go down there and you can live with, you know, family down there until you figure it out. So within a week of that conversation, I had my car packed and I never looked back. I haven't lived at home since. That was 2021, I think. Yeah, because I've been down there for 3 years now. So I ended up moving down to California. And that's where I've been since. And I moved in with family for a little bit and then eventually met my roommates that I live with currently and, you know, got myself established and stuff. But when I moved to California, that was truly the start of me healing. I believe that there was healing along the way in the sense that I was making these mistakes and trying to figure out what was going to make me feel good in the moment and learning that that wouldn't last and there had to be something beyond that. But it wasn't until I left and I had total and complete independence from my family and from my mom and from that situation, because even being in Salem, like where I'm from, I never went out. I hated being in public. I hated running into people from high school because everybody knew about it. There were so many people, you know, when I'd still lived there that had approached me in almost this way, like they felt bad for me. And they would ask me questions like, how are you doing? Like, is everything okay with you and your mom? And I'm like, I ended up getting really into traveling. I traveled a lot once I started living in California. And it's actually what, you know, got me into the job that I have right now. I fell into like a nice routine of doing things for myself and being adventurous and making friends.
I don't really care about her life.
Now I'm living on my own. I'm, you know, working full time. I'm happy. You know, I'm doing all these fun things. I feel good about myself. Like, why am I not getting all these things now? Like, why am I not moving forward in life and doing better? Because I wasn't actually better. I ignored all of the reasons why I was emotional. And it was because I wasn't addressing the like deep, deep wounds that my mom had caused and that this situation had caused. I had very bad abandonment issues. I hated, like, if I was not chosen over another person, whether it was like a guy or friends or even family, like I had like this immense amount of sadness if I was alone. Like I couldn't be alone. I would just feel so sad. I had to be around people to keep my energy up. Felt like I couldn't focus. I would like just get foggy brain sometimes. I was just noticing all these different things that I couldn't control. And I hadn't gone to therapy at this point. I'd seen a therapist once in college when I told my coach about what had happened. He was like, I think you should see our sports psychologist. Well, I go to the sports psychologist. I tell her what happened. She's like, how all of these years of the narcissism that I'd experienced from my mom, and the emotional neglect that I experienced with myself, and the ways in which my perception of love and perception of relationships and what it truly means to be vulnerable, like it all came to realization because of this relationship. And so I won't go into the details of it because that doesn't necessarily matter, but I had found out that I was the other girl in this relationship, and it absolutely broke me. It absolutely shattered me. I was like, oh my God, it's happening again. Like, I'm not even dating this guy, but it's happening again. Like that feeling of I'm not good enough. And, you know, I'm at this point now, like it's been 7-8 years since the thing between my mom and Em. And I thought I was so far away from it, but that feeling of like betrayal and your trust being broken and a violation of like, I guess my emotions, it all came to a head. And this is when I finally looked at myself in the mirror and I was like, I'm not okay. I'm not okay to let somebody treat me like this. For this to happen, like I'm not okay.
Yeah, this is the thing where honestly, I'm seeing more and more of it, like how mentally unstable a lot of women are. And because of their mental instabilities, they consistently make so many shitty mistakes. That's why, honestly, I don't trust women's dating takes. Their mentality, okay? All the shit they say about dating, men are trash, all that shit. I don't respect. All their takes are bullshit. BS. Because honestly, you are mentally unstable. You date, you attract shitty men. You're attracted to toxicity. Because honestly, your mental instability is toxic. So, no duh. I stick with this line. Toxic people are attracted to toxic people.
Like I'd experienced those throughout the years, but I think I've kind of had this delayed effect in life to where everything like I've been running away from, and it's, caught up to me. And now I'm feeling like all the years of ignoring what I've pushed so far down. And this relationship just kind of like exaggerated those feelings. So I went to therapy. I started, seeing this amazing therapist named Amy, shout out to Amy. And she helped me understand that I did experience this emotional, I guess, dysfunction with my mom growing up, and that she had a lot of tendencies that, somebody who has narcissism displays. And like, I don't know if I would truly say that my mom is a narcissist, but I do think that she has characteristics that are similar to that of one. And just like the things that I didn't recognize when I was younger were not right and were not healthy and were not, a normal mother-daughter relationship. Like I can't say that I ever experienced like love from my mom, and concern for like my emotional well-being and even my physical well-being, because it was gonna maybe not obviously happen exactly the same way, but like they were gonna cheat on me, or they didn't really truly like me, they were just using me or whatever. I'd make up all these different excuses. I had such bad trust and, like I said, abandonment issues, and I broke down all of those things with her, and I became very honest with myself, and I had to face the music. I had to look at myself and say I'm not okay, and that's really hard because we're up all these feelings, and I just look at it now as like the catalyst for me really becoming who I am. Like I am nowhere close to who I was before, but I'm so happy to be the person that I am now. And like so many great things have come from this situation. I mean, like I said, I've gained, a mother figure, my aunt. I've gained a mother figure in my life that
I'm thinking she's not gonna be
I'm just so happy that I was able to get to a point to where I allowed myself to finally get help.
I'm assuming that it's almost ending. She's not gonna really dig in more deeper with her father.
I really hope and I really pray that one day my mom is able to get to the point to where she can do the same.
Do you guys have a relationship today or no?
So yeah, no, I'll get into that. So my parents are still married. My parents did, I don't think they really did like couples therapy, but I think they like they took time to really figure out like what was going on between them. And from what I've asked my dad, I think a lot of it is because my mom was so broken from her past and she never addressed those things that it just kind of, boiled over, and the behaviors that she already had, like her, little tendencies, they just were exaggerated by her.
Well, she's talking about it now. They're still together. The father is an idiot. I'm sorry. He is a doormat. He has no self-respect. To blame her actions on her past is just giving her excuses. It's taking away accountability, taking away consequences. Here's the thing. What's the consequences of her action? Yes, her one daughter is not really, all that close to her. But honestly, you see how she was throughout her daughter's life. They weren't that close. The friendship shit is manipulation. So really, they weren't that close. So honestly, the mother has not lost anything. She, lost her job. So what? The husband was providing. The husband is still taking care of the household. So you're not really, what are you lost out on? And this is the thing why I say this is the problem with a lot of men. We have no self-respect. We are fine with be treating like a doormat. We are spineless. You take away the consequences of this woman's action. Is beyond me. It really is. It's just, now this is a thing where you're condoning her bad behavior. And when you do that shit, there's a higher likelihood of her repeating those same mistakes. Maybe not with her daughter's next boyfriend, but maybe with another man. Because in women's mind, they see, oh, there was no consequences really for me having sex with my daughter's boyfriend. What? I lost a job? So what? Women aren't clamoring to have jobs. And plus, they can find another. So that's really not much of a consequences. 2, you're okay, losing the connection with this daughter. So what? She wasn't all that close to her. It was fake manipulation. So not much there.
I guess lack of confidence in herself. Like, she wasn't a very confident person. That's why she needed these external validation, like coping mechanisms, running and feeling young and all that stuff. And my parents, so they worked on their relationship, and I can confidently say that they're better than I've ever seen them, but I still have some hesitancy when I believe that like they're happy. Mm-hmm. My dad is in such a better place than he was before, and I think a lot of it is because he has this nature to him that he is so unconditional in the way that he loves, that he will do everything he can to understand how he can fix it. And I think he took a lot of time to really understand my mom better, and he took a lot of time to understand himself. He started going to church again. He was doing like men's groups and really like pouring into himself and, healing himself. And I think that helped him be a better husband. And, it speaks volumes to how when you're in a relationship with somebody, like, you're both bringing to the table all your baggage. So it's not a matter of, not having that baggage, but how you manage it and how you.
Here's the thing where, thank you, Anthony. Thank you for, what you said. Yeah. Another example of high neuroticism traits. Here's the thing where I'm not going to tell any man what you should or shouldn't do. Okay? You want to stay married? Cool. It's up to you. Right? You want to date this woman? We are all adults. At the end of the day, I'm just talking. I'm just giving opinions. I'm not telling anybody what to do, what you should or shouldn't do. It's up to you. At the end of the day, we are all adults. We make decisions for our lives. So this is why, let's say this man stays with his wife. Fine. He's an adult. But this is why I will then not blame the wife if she cheats again. I don't blame the wife. Hell, you know what? with how this man is, why would I blame her for cheating to begin with? He accepts her. He's fine with her bad behavior. So this is the thing where, honestly, when you take away the consequences, the accountability from someone, right? Let's say this man took away the consequences from this woman, and then she cheated again, or then she treats him bad again. It's on him. It's on you. Because I've said this countless times before. And I want more men to understand. You cannot change other people. You cannot change other people. So if they're criminals, they're going to be criminals. Stop making them changing their minds. If they're cheaters, they're cheaters. Stop making them change their mind. What you can do is control your own actions, i.e., have self-respect. That's what you can do. It's in your power to choose, oh, should I stay with this cheater or not? Should I allow this person to cross my boundaries? Because if you allow this person to do something, well, then it's on you if they do it, right? It's on you. You know, how the consequences are there. If this is the thing where, like, again, he decides to stay in this marriage, fine. It's his adult right. But like I said, it shows how little self-respect he has. Because honestly, if he does this, she does anything wrong, she, I don't know, mistreats him, whatever, well, I wouldn't blame her. I'll blame him. I'll blame him. Or I wouldn't blame him. I say, like, you know what? Well, so what? You chose that life. You chose to stay with her. So why you shouldn't be crying that she did you wrong. You chose to be with her. This is the same thing with women that stay in abusive relationships. I'm sorry. I'm not out here coddling people. I'm not here promoting victimhood. You choose to stay with these people because we are adults. We have the freedom of leaving. If we don't, it is only your fault. Plain and simple. This is a thing where I've said this. No matter how shitty my baby mom was to me, I'm not bad mouthing her. I'm not the type of person to bad mouth someone I chose to be with. This is why I think it's insane that any baby mama bad mouth their baby fathers, their baby dads. You kidding me? You chose to be with them. You chose to have sex with them. You chose to give them kids. Seems like you're the problem. You chose this person. This is a thing where I chose this woman, no matter how shitty she's been to me, right? But I chose her. I chose her. I chose to stay with her. I chose to give her kids. So really, it's stupid of me to badmouth someone I chose to be with. Because why? Because it will be a reflection of me. If she was I can say that she's the worst human being ever. Yet, in logic, hey, you chose to be with the worst person ever? Seems like you're the problem. That's the thing where, honestly, I promote accountability. I promote accountability. 100%. Because so many, we lack that in our society right now.
I guess, like, trust yourself with it. And my mom just never really dealt with it. And so my dad finally, like, after the situation was, like, starting to really, like, force my mom to, like, talk to him about her life. And it's crazy to me. Like, my dad said when they got married, he had no idea, like, some of the stuff that she had been through and some of the things that she had to do to, like, raise herself and be on her own and being without a mom in her life. I'm not making an excuse for her when I say this, but it is no wonder that she ended up being the way that she is because she had no other way of understanding. And I think my dad was very patient with her after this situation.
This is a thing where she is making an excuse. Yes, trauma is terrible. No duh, it's trauma. But even the most stupid person in this world, is it logical to cheat on my husband? Is it logical to cheat on my husband with a boy? Is it logical to cheat on my husband with my daughter's fucking boyfriend? I don't give a shit how traumatic your life is. This is the thing why I promote accountability. It's all about choices. You knew this shit was wrong. No matter how traumatic your childhood was, unless your brain is mush, unless your fucking brain is mush, you knew what you were doing. The only thing is that you chose not to care. You chose not to care. Your trauma just reinforced your selfishness. It didn't make you stupid. That's the thing where we're making excuses for people who had traumatic upbringings. Yes, I get it. But traumatic upbringings don't make you stupid. It just makes you a worse human being. That's it. It makes you a worse human being. I.e., it makes you more selfish. It makes you more, I don't know. Selfish is pretty worse, right? Selfish is pretty shitty. So really, that's it. It makes you less caring about other people and only caring about yourself. Choosing not to care about your actions. Choosing not to care about the effects of your actions. That's what trauma does. So honestly, it doesn't make you stupid. Just makes you more selfish. So I don't give a shit. The father is stupid. I mean, it's sad that, her mom wasn't around, but okay, great. Grow up. Everyone, this is the thing where everyone has to deal with trauma. But there's a point where be an adult. Be an adult. I think she was in her 40s, late 40s. Be an adult. I had to deal with trauma, but you know what? There's a point where you got to grow up. It's like, if you chose to ignore your mental issues, well, that's your fucking fault. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. Maybe.
Because he really wanted her to, heal and fix those parts about herself, which hasn't really happened yet, but I think their relationship has gotten better. And now that all three of us are out of the house, I think that's allowed them to have more time to, be with each other. And my dad.
So it hasn't happened yet. So she hasn't fixed herself. Okay.
Dad told me, because I'd addressed, I was like a couple years after the fact, I'm like, why did you choose to stay with mom? And he said that when he got married, he made a vow and he said, for better or for worse, all that stuff that I think nowadays we don't take as seriously. And so I really admired.
When one side of the marriage believes in the vows, but the other side doesn't, I honestly think it's stupid for you to uphold the vows now. I don't know. I mean, this is the thing why I said nice guys finish last. Nice guys will finish last. Even though he's married, he has a woman, he still finished last. He's still finishing last. What's the point? What's the point of being a nice guy? I honestly, please tell me sometimes, right? And please tell me, because sometimes it's hard to understand. What's the point of being a good guy? What's really the point? Because when you have the marriage, you have the kids, you have the family, you have the life. Yeah, really, it's just, what's the point? Your kids will leave you. Your wife cheated on you. It's like, what's the point?
My dad, when he said that, and he was like, when you really love somebody, and he's like, I love your mom. I know that she really fucked up, but I love your mom. And I am going to do whatever I can to stay committed to her. And even if my dad isn't happy, ultimately, it really, really stood out to me that he had that level of commitment to my mom. And that's like the blueprint. We all want somebody that is going to love us like that. So I've learned a lot.
Yeah. Love you regardless of themselves. this is a thing where only women can love someone that doesn't love themselves. I guarantee you, women will never say that, you know, I love you more than myself. I don't care about myself more than I care about you. You know, women will always try to live the motto of happy wife, happy life. Never happy husband, happy life. Because they don't give a shit about the man. It's always about them. It's always about them. It's always about the selfishness. It's always about the man needing to sacrifice himself for you. Not the other way around. This is a thing where, you know, where I see it more and more. That men are just, you know why I do care? Why I do care? Because, one, when men, let's hypothetically, okay? Her father staying with the mom after she cheated on him. Hypothetically, there's a scenario where after doing all of this, hypothetically, remember that, she would still divorce him. In turn, destroying him. And it's happened in other stories, happens in other relationships, where a man will still try to make it work. Try to make the relationship work. Try to be better, be a better husband when he didn't cheat. Okay? But try to be a better husband. Try to be a better man. And yet the woman will still want to leave him, still want to divorce him. Remember, women file divorces 80% of the time. Right? Women file for divorces 80% of the time. So I'm guaranteeing you it's happened within that. It's happened with that in that percentage. Okay? And it's like men comes out of destroyed. And here's another thing. The deletion rate of men is super high. And I guarantee you, I've heard stories of those scenarios, still trying to be a good husband, getting divorced, he ending it.
About what it means to unconditionally love somebody through my dad. And God forbid, like, you know, this happens in my own relationship, like me doing something that bad. But I just think to myself, I think that's what it like truly means to be in a relationship with somebody, is to forgive them and to love them, you know, from their best self to their worst self. And he's taught me a lot about forgiveness, and he's taught me a lot about just giving people grace. And I went through a lot of ups and downs, you know, between 2015 and now, where I would not talk to my mom and I would talk to my mom. Like I said, I didn't come home for like 3 years, like to stay there. And I would barely see my parents. My dad would usually come down and visit me on his own. And when I was around my mom, I would say like very few words. I would not text her. I would not call her, like nothing. I wouldn't like have her blocked and stuff, but I just didn't want anything to do with her. And then when I would have periods in my life where I was doing better and I felt, you know, a little bit more sure of myself, I would be a little bit more open, you know, so
you know, now this is a thing where I wanted to more focus on, getting a little bit of her view, because you could hear how she is at the end. Saying, God forbid I did that too. Right? God forbid I cheated on my husband. But I want that unconditional love, where the man will forgive my actions. You know, this is the sad reality that men live in. This is the sad reality that men live in. Men truly love unconditionally. Women will love conditionally. I don't know. Why I wanted to hear this story is it just shows me that Men will always suffer. Good, average men will always suffer. We're always the underdog. We're always the last to be thought of. We're always the sacrifice. We're always at the bottom of the totem pole. We have to be doormats, be spineless, have no self-respect, be viewed as simps, be viewed as, oh, he needs to love unconditionally. He needs to be the one that listens to the vows, that obeys the vows. He needs to be. I don't know. Just shit like this is just sad for men. No one cares, right? No one cares. No one cares if it's sad for men or not. No one does. But it's just that why I built this channel is that I ain't gonna hold back. I ain't holding back. Because we've had years, we have decades, we've had generations of people caring about the shit that happens to women, which I understand that. I'm not counteracting that. But for the longest, if not forever, no one cares about average men. Good average men. Nobody cares. Men will just have to live in that solitude. You know, nobody cares. And I don't know, this cycle of women just being selfish, men needing to be selfless, will continue. And it's just sad. It really is. So I don't know. I think that's it for tonight. I think that's it. You know, I thought this was an interesting story. This has become pretty, I guess, semi-viral, you know, or semi-talked about, at least on TikTok, at least with other women. And I thought it was an interesting story, so I wanted to talk about that, you know. But yeah. What do you guys think? What do you guys think? Thank you, everyone, for stopping by. Black Redneck, Anthony, Isaiah, you know, Parasocial. Thank you for the gifting the memberships. We had Sweetie Squad was here. Grant Lou, Squared Away. Just was watching in, you know, in quiet, you know. Thank you, regardless. Thank you. We had Alvy here. We had Real Warrior King. Anti-Black. You guys are amazing. Renegade, The Freak. Tracy was here. Thank you guys. Thank you guys for stopping by. Thank you guys for checking out the live. If you guys didn't hear it, I said I ain't going to be having a live on Monday. I'm going to be having a live on Tuesday, New Year's Eve. If you guys don't have plans, which I hope you guys do. I hope you guys would have fun. I hope you guys maybe, you know, hook up, spend time with women, spend time with your partner, or find a partner, or, you know, spend time with your friends in person, whatever. If you guys have plans, I hope you guys the best. I hope you guys have a fun night, fun day. If you guys don't have plans, because I don't have any plans. I'm a bachelor. I got nobody. It is what it is. If you guys have no plans, you know, I will be having a New Year's live stream on Tuesday. We will, if you guys join me, we will be celebrating the New Year's together. So if you guys want to, cool. I would love to celebrate, enter the New Year's with my brothers, okay? With my followers, with people that support me. So, you know, please check out the live if you guys aren't doing nothing. And I wish you guys would be doing something, okay? I wish you guys a fun night. But if you're not, your bro is here. So, you know, hope you guys have fun. Hope you guys check out my other videos. Yeah, love you guys. Thank you, bros.